So the last chapter of geometry deals with, section 1.7 deals with three-dimensional figures. And in the section, it talks about polyhedrons, which is basically figures that you see from last section, but they're three-dimensional. So there's two basic ones we're dealing with. We're dealing with prisms and pyramids. And the main difference is how many bases they have. A prism has two bases. Now the bases can be any shape, any of the two-dimensional shapes you have. You can have an octagon, a pentagon, or in this case we have a triangle and a rectangle. So basically what a prism is you take a shape, right, and then you stretch it, you hold it so that you have the two bases and then a height that connects them. So in this case we have our two-dimensional figure is a triangle. So we have a triangular base and then you connect each, and this becomes our height. In this case here, we have a rectangle and a rectangle in the back, and then we open them up, and then all the sides are connected, and that is called the height. So two bases for prism. A pyramid has one base, okay, and all of the points of that base, so this is a square base, will meet together at a point. And the names of both have to do with the bases. So this has a triangle base, which is called a triangular prism. If this base was a triangle, then we'd call it triangular pyramid. This is a rectangle of the bases, so we call it a rectangular prism. So make sure that you go ahead and write this down. Please make sure that you're not writing while I'm talking, and don't forget your vocabulary. Okay. The next thing we have is called the surface area and volume. So it's very similar to perimeter. Surface area is the perimeter version of a three-dimensional figure. A volume is a three-dimensional way of saying area. So volume is how much a 3D object can contain. So all the formulas are found in your book, page 62. But let's look at an example. If you look in your book on page 62, we're going to take the equation of a prism. This is the equation of prism. Capital T represents the surface area. So we're talking about the surface area. And there's new variables that you're going to be faced with. For example, you're faced with capital P. Capital P is basically the perimeter of the base. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the base. In this case, because it's a cube, any of the faces can be our base. But when you did our triangular prism, the base would be which one? The triangle. So you would take the triangle, or you take this and you apply section 1.6. So in this case we have this. So in order to find P, perimeter, it's like the perimeter you find in section 1.6, so that's 2 lengths times 2 widths, sorry, it's not times, it's add. 2 lengths plus 2 widths, and that's how I find the perimeter of the base, and I'm going to plug that number here. So it's kind of like a two-part process. And the same thing when you want to find B, which is the area of the base. So you're going to find the area of a square, which is length times width. Once I have that number, then I'm going to plug it in here. Once I find those two, then I'm going to plug it in. My height is the ones that connect my two bases. So if I use this as a base and this as a base, okay, then that means this line that connects it, this is called my height. And I'm going to plug that in. And then once I do that, then I'm going to use my algebra skills to go ahead and find T, which is my surface area. Now again, a lot of the problems are different. For example, the volume of this, you multiply the area of the base times the height. So it's important to make sure you understand what the uppercase letters mean. And on the box in the formula, they'll tell you what each one represents. They want us to find the surface area and the volume of this prism. And because the basis, as you can see, is a triangle, this is called a what? Triangular prism. Okay? These formulas right here can be found on page 62. So make sure to write this down and then follow along with me. So page 62 gives us the surface area, which is capital P and capital B. Before anything, just general rule, when you have the capitals, find that first, and then you can add the lowercase, because that small h is basically this, 5 equals h. But our base is our triangle, okay? This is 6, 10, and 8. So first, I need to find the perimeter, okay, which is 6 plus 8 plus 10, which 18 plus 6 is 24. Okay, and big base is basically 1/2 base, which is 8, times height. Now this is what you learned from 1/6. These equations. This is perimeter of a triangle and the area of a triangle. So 1/2 base times the height, 6 times 8. So 6 times 8, Miss P is drawing a blank, 48, and then we divide that by 2, which should give us 24. So 1/2 of 48, which gives us 24. Okay? So now we're going to plug it in. I'm going to do it over here. We're going to plug into T equals big P, which is 24, times our height, which is 5, plus 2 times our big B, which is also 24. So 24 times 5 is 120. Remember your order of operations, plus 2 times 24, which is 48. So it's 168, and that is our surface area. Next, we find the volume. The volume is pretty simple because we already found big P over here, big B over here. So we're going, and we already have the height, so there's no figuring it out. We just plug it in and multiply. So big B is 24. Okay, and H is 5. So 24 times 5 is 120. So because there's no units, so there's no centimeters or anything, we're just going to say units squared, because anything three-dimensional is the surface area is units squared. The volume is units cubed. And these are our 2 answers. So go ahead and try that. To write that down, and then try page 63, number 3 and 4. So page 63, number 3 and 4. And that's basically all that you're going to have for section 1-7. And be ready to go for your lecture in class and take the test.